What is up everyone, welcome to another video. This is the third part of Data Analyst video series with Harshad. We've done part 1 and part 2. I'll leave the link in the description. If you haven't watched, go check them out. Harshad is studying Masters in Data Analytics at George Mason University. He's currently Data Analyst intern at Micron. He also had job offer from Geico, which they both are big companies in United States. He also had job interviews with Barclay, Amazon, and other companies. Like always, I'll put the timestamps right here so you can skip to any part of the video you want to. We talk about internship, job search strategy, cover letter, resume, LinkedIn, how did the interview process happen, questions, preparation, skills required to be a data analyst. A lot of fun, valuable. If you are at all interested in internship search or data analyst, this is the video for you. Harshad, if you're watching this, thank you so much for doing this. It means a lot to me and our Yudi squad community. And last but not the least, I'm super grateful and very lot of gratitude for all the love and support and comments you've been putting in my recent videos. Please keep them coming because every single comment motivates me and encourages me to make valuable content just like this one. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. And now I will let you enjoy the conversation. People who haven't watched the first part, let's do a quick intro. Where are you from and what do you do right now?
So I'm from Mumbai. I'm an IT undergraduate from Don Bosco. I've been pursuing my master's in data analytics. It's my second semester here. I came in the fall of 2019. Currently, I'm almost at the end of my second semester, and I'm going to be starting my internship on the 1st of June. I'm going to be a data analyst intern at Micron Technology, Manassas, Virginia. So yeah, that's where I stand.
That's awesome. I mean, for people who don't know what is Micron is, what is Micron? Or Micron is a big company over here in United States, and it's awesome that you have an internship even at this time of pandemic, and it's not been retracted or taken back. So that's awesome. Let's dive into it. When did you start looking for internship? When did you start thinking about internship?
So once I was here, I actually started tailor-making my resume as per a data analyst. Like when I came here, I was a normal IT undergraduate from Mumbai University who's actually not really done anything which will get him into such a competitive field, with Americans being in the field for so long, plus people who are actually doing a lot of analytical research work, etc. But as I came in here, I started to actually polishing whatever I knew. So for example, Python is what I actually was more, trying to deep delve into so that I can actually get most out of it and I can learn as much as I can. There is still a lot of Python which I really don't know. I would not say I know everything in Python because it's a language which is ever evolving. It's a huge collection of libraries that we have. So it keeps changing. It keeps there are a lot of things which need to be learned at all times. There are a lot of updates that keep coming, etc. So that was what I started learning Python. The whole application started on probably, the 1st of September. I started really early. So for a summer intern, I started doing it on the probably 16th of September or something, because I have this board. I think you would like to see it. So I have this board. This board is where I wrote my first applications. I wrote the companies and I saw where the applications had started when. And so that's where I actually, these are the first set of companies that I was looking at. So obviously these include Google, Microsoft, Amazon, and all that. So yeah, that's how I started.
Nice.
So 16 September was the day.
I just want to let people know that you did not have any work experience in India, and you came as a fresher, and you started working on your resume. That's one thing common, which where I've been talking to people who've been getting an internship is they started very early. Some of them started even before coming to the United States. Some of them started as soon as they landed in United States. And I say that in all my videos as well, that you gotta start as soon as you land. It doesn't start January, February, 3 months before. Yeah.
So it really doesn't start in the month of January. In the month of January is when I had 2 offers. So you have to know for a fact that in September, when I started, there were a lot of positions which were actually opens from July. I was late once I started in the first week of my academic curriculum. It's really great to start early. You have to know for a fact that once you are international students, number one, number two, that you are someone with a no experience background. You have never worked in this field before. You have to know that you have to work that extra mile so that you can actually, go ahead and get what you want. So that's what I realized, and I started early. I knew for a fact that because I'm a fresher, I need to have some work experience before I actually get into the full-time market. So that was the whole motivation, and knowing that I need to learn something, because how much ever you learn during your academics cannot be compared to what you will learn during your work. So yeah, I started in September. I I had this whole planned out part, which will obviously not work always, but some of it will work, some of it will not work. So that's how you just go ahead and keep doing whatever you are when you're applying.
So what's the planned out plan?
So the plan was that every day I actually had this 1 hour slot wherein I did 20 applications every day.
Hmm.
And one thing I knew for a fact is that I used to have a cover letter. There are a lot of people who not tend to have cover letters, and I'm not saying that that'll add a lot of value, but all I'm saying is it might. So why risk it?
Hmm.
So I had a cover letter ready, and I used to tailor make that cover letter. So I had this part when I had to change it according to what the company needs. The plan was to do 20 applications a day. In the start, I was really lazy and I could not do it. I'll be really honest. But after a month or so, I knew that there were a lot more applications coming in. There were a lot of new applications being posted on LinkedIn, etc. So I was making sure that I cope up with whatever is coming in. Whatever I'm going to do in these 4 months is going to count. So the whole September and October, when I did 20 applications a day, that was almost around 600 applications in just like 2 months. And I think I'm not saying I got a lot of responses, but the few responses that I got were things which actually turned up to be probably like first round, second round. I at least tried to give interviews so that I can actually, get the whole feel of how it works in the United States.
Yeah. How did Micron happen then?
So Micron's first call with the recruiter happened, I think, in the second week of October, wherein they called me for. So they basically I had been in conversations with one of the recruiters through LinkedIn. They kept visiting my profile, so I was like, okay, I'm really open to opportunities. Please, please do something with it.
This is interesting. So how did it happen? Like, so you applied and then the recruiters was checking out your profile, or they were looking at it
I
and
had
then
already made applications to Micron. There were a lot of Micron applications that I had already done. Plus, my sister-in-law here she was already an intern in Micron 6 years back. So I kind of knew that I had to go to that whole Micron thing where I know that I am going to apply, etc. So I went ahead and made some applications, and then I saw a recruiter visiting my profile one day, and then I actually texted them saying, "Oh, hey, I am open to opportunities, etc." They were like, "Have you applied to this particular position?" Which was actually data analysis yield enhancement, which is one of their fabrication-based data analysis position. So I said, "Yeah, I have already applied to it, etc." So they scheduled a recruiter call with me in the second week of October, and once that was done, I got a call from her 2 weeks later, I think, she said that actually that position is no more available. They do not need interns anymore. I was like, okay, that's okay. I mean, she was like, so I'll get back to you with another position that I have, and this one will be in some other department. I was like, okay, that's okay. I mean, barely care about the department because, she said it's data analytics again, but in a different department.
Right.
So like, sure. Then they called me in the first week of November again. This was like a semi-technical call wherein they were actually doing a resume screening plus asking me my skills in Python and MySQL. The last one happened on the 18th of November. The 18th of November, I was actually was like a technical phone interview. It was not a code round, but it was an algorithm-based pseudo code round, wherein I was actually asked about how I would go about a problem, which they suggested. And the same day in the evening, I already had an offer. And then from there on, we actually went ahead and did the formalities and got my offer letter. My offer letter came in the last week of November, and that's when I knew that I had one offer in hand. Yeah.
Nice. That's awesome. So what kind of preparation did you do for that interview?
So for that interview, I made sure that I brushed up my Python and MySQL really well because that's what they were actually looking at. My recruiter had already told. So I also learned one thing after coming here is you always need to be in touch with your recruiter. Even though she'll not be a person who's going to be actively involved with you in the next few rounds, but she'll always be ready to help you with whatever she can. And in my case, my recruiter helped me with anything and everything I needed. She helped me with matching of my teams, etc. And so I knew for a fact that what was going to be the whole role, what the role was going to be about. So I went ahead and studied Python and MySQL. I went ahead and actually I did not, sit and code in Python. I learned the basics of it, why a particular library was used, because some people just do it for the sake of doing it. And then the question arises, why did you do it? So I went ahead and tried to learn why it was actually done. So that's how I actually did Python. And MySQL was one of my courses that I was doing back then. So that was already being brushed up through my academic course. And yeah, so when they called, it was about a 1.5 hour call. I took it from the campus itself. They were actually, everything was on call. So there are rare cases of you having a on-site intern interview.
Yeah, and what was the interview like? Was it more problem-solving questions, a behavioral question, or combination of both?
It was actually a combination of both. So now that you pointed, the first half an hour was actually behavioral based on what I was currently doing. They were really inquisitive about what I was actually doing on campus. For example, I was actually working as a student resource assistant, like I said in the previous video. Therein, they were actually like, what do you exactly do? Because just they wanted to see how I actually approach a problem, maybe. So that's where the whole string of questions started. They actually were asking me, what do you do? Whom do you actually cater to? What are your daily needs, etc.? How did you come to know about Micron? So as a matter of fact, so our George Mason uses Crucial hard drives, which I was using during my work at my job. Crucial is the child company for Micron. So that's where I actually saw it. That's how I related, how I knew Micron. And then I went ahead and actually, started talking about what was my actual work, how I worked with, who I worked with, what did I do, etc. And then they went ahead and asked me about my Python proficiency and how much I would rate myself out of it. And went ahead and they asked me how much I would rate myself in MySQL. And they asked me a few scenarios which were problems, but I had to solve it in. So basically, I was not asked Python code for it. I was asked how would I approach it in Python. So one thing, in fact, I knew after that interview is they would not really care about your coding skills if you actually know how the problem will be solved, but by using that particular language.
Right. Right. And so basically my guess is they were trying to trying to determine if you know Python libraries and what kind of methods will you use from Python library so that you will be able to solve not the syntax part of it.
Correct. Exactly. They were not really concerned about syntax because they know that Python for a language anyways, it's not a very complex syntax, not like Java wherein you will always be running into syntax error, or like C wherein you will be learning into syntax errors. They were more concerned about how well I was versed with my libraries.
Yeah.
And that's how they were actually asking me questions about. Yeah.
Yeah. What's the salary range for data analyst intern positions?
I've seen varied ranges from 20 per hour to probably 45-ish per hour also. But there are people who are offering monthly stipends also. For example, let's say Amazon for that matter has a package of $7,993 per month. So which comes up to be around $44 an hour, etc. But that's about the big companies. There are a lot of companies which are local and will give you 20 an hour, 16 an hour. So it's really, it's a very big variation, and there's a long range which you have to actually know.
Yeah. What was so you said that you had that first offer. What was the other offer, or did you have any other offers?
So the next one was Geico. The Geico insurance company, which was based in Gatlinburg, Maryland. That was a product management role and not primarily analytics. It was product management for analytics in Geico. Then I also had this Barclays thing going on, which was placed on waitlist, but there's nothing which has come up because, you know, this whole COVID thing came in with the middle, and then they actually stopped, and Barclays was giving in a really, really good compensation package. Nobody would actually reject it. They were actually paying like $10,000 a month, which is a lot of money.
Wow, yeah.
It's like a 120K package a year. So no one would
Oh
actually
my
drop.
God, that is so cool.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. So, and all of this was through online application and not through like networking or anything like that.
No, so I also kept networking. So one of my Amazon interviews happened purely because of networking. It didn't work out, but I actually got an interview because I networked with the person who was actually luckily a part of the hiring team that was hiring for that position. It was a systems development engineer intern, something I was really not keen towards, being my career path, but I was like, might as well explore it. You never know if I would like it.
Yeah.
So that was through networking. I also made sure that I keep my LinkedIn connection strong. So if you might not remember, I think I connected with you when I was here. Like the first day I was here, I connected to you. I know for a fact that LinkedIn is a blessing. You have to make good LinkedIn connections because you never know who might turn out to be a really good asset. There are a lot of people in a lot of companies. You don't know which referral will twitch and work, and then you might end up with like a 100K job in that company.
Right. Yeah, 100%. So what are some of the skills which for people who are looking to be a data analyst, what are some of the skills they should work on so that they can get an internship?
Right. So these days, Python is always in demand. This is one language which I think will not go out of demand until it's absolutely obsolete. People have to stop using Python for it to go obsolete, which will not happen in the near future. But having said that, there are a lot of new, visualization softwares, visualization platforms which are allowing better visualizations than Python. But I still believe that it has a lot of power. For example, I would really suggest people to, try to learn more Python, try to learn a little bit of R. R being a really academic language. And my interviewer actually told me this when I told him that I'm really proficient in R. He's like, okay, that's really great. That's really good for an academic background. But you have to know for a fact that nobody in the industry actually uses R. That was really like a, blow.
Yeah.
It was like, so okay, I've been learning something really well and it's a new language. I was really liking it. And that's not really something which an industry needs. So I was like, okay, that's okay. I mean, I'll still work on something else. So yeah. And one thing which is a real in-demand thing these days is Tableau. You have to know for a fact that a lot of companies are looking for Tableau developers, and to be very honest, for a person who will be actually looking at someone who's actually making it, it just looks like drag and drop. It's way more than that. You have to know a lot to know Tableau.
Yeah.
And plus they have specialty certifications.
Who don't know, like if you had to explain someone what is Tableau.
Tableau is basically a web page, but an analytical web page. It's a dashboard to know everything you would want. For example, let's assume that you're in a car and you have a speedometer, you have a fuel tank meter, you have something which shows your kilometers, you have something which shows your RPM. The same thing, but for analytics. You can actually have a graph, you can have a statistical, a map of United States which shows. So there is this, so we used it. I never used it. We visit this website called VDH, which is the Virginia Department of Health, to check the corona cases. It's powered by Tableau. That's insane because it shows the whole map of Virginia and it shows which county is infected the most, which county is infected the least, the number of deaths, the number of people hospitalized, etc. So Tableau is something which I think is a real good investment if you want to actually learn something. And plus, like I said, it's really in demand. People would really want someone who knows Tableau. I myself am trying to learn and explore Tableau. My manager, whom I actually talked with a couple of days back, he actually told me that I'm going to get Tableau projects. So I'm trying to be more proficient in it. So that's one thing I'd really suggest people to know.
Yeah, and SQL and MySQL, I guess that's another one.
Yeah, SQL is something, which will never leave you. If you are into data, you have to know for a fact that SQL will never leave you.
That's the only way you're going to communicate with database. So
Exactly. I mean, whatever you do in life, you have to know for a fact that a data analyst will always be in touch with SQL.
Yeah, 100%.
Yep.
What are some of the tips for people who are looking for internship, maybe next semester or next year when they come?
Like Yudi already mentioned, connections. Connections are really important. He will also agree to it that most of the connections that he has will prove fruitful to him one or the other way.
Yes.
Because as a matter of fact, there are people in my LinkedIn connections who are in really, really good companies, and they would probably not just anything. They would also, if they also tell you about their role, you will really know if that's something you would want to do. And there are people who will be actually really willing to refer you. There are people who will be actually willing to, establish connections with you so that you can, actually see how they can contribute towards yourself. And it's not like Facebook where people are going to stalk you and it's something which is bad for you. My only suggestion would be like start early. Like Yudi said, you start early, you will get it.
Yes,
Yep.
100%. Thank you for doing this. We might do another video, not today, but on just giving them a live example of how data analysts work and
Right.
simulation of
Yeah.
product managers, stakeholders, business stakeholders versus data analysts and how they talk and do things like
Yes.
that. But I'll be coming very soon. And thanks for making me famous.
That's you, okay?
No, man. All right. You want to end my video until our next one?
Keep smiling, keep hustling. Thank you so much.